Next, one of those things that we commonly come across when we're looking at different queries or different scenarios with clients that we're working on, what we run into is that missing indexes really impact performance. And a lot of the time, people may not even know what indexes are missing or may not know what indexes they need. And it may be different between a development environment and a production environment, depending on the amount of data that you're using there. So basically, indexes speed up data retrieval, but they're oftentimes overlooked. Now, if you're wondering, well, what is an index? We'll go check out our earlier podcast, which I think was published on February 5th of this year, February 5th, 2025, that's on what are indexes and the basics around indexes. But the common mistake here is forgetting to index frequently queried columns in your join predicates or your where clause. So the reason that this is a problem, not having those indexes, is that you end up with full table scans that ends up being slow queries, especially on really large data sets. Now, let's assume that you've got a dev environment with a substantial amount of data, but then your production environment has 10 times or 100 times or 1,000 times the amount of data as your dev environment does. Well, you may have queries that work great in that dev environment, but perform completely different in that production environment because there's so much more data there. If you're looking at the difference between a full table scan versus an index seek, if you're running with a very small data set, that may not make much difference at all, but it may be a difference between tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of page reads. So what you want to do is look at your execution plan, figure out if there's any recommended indexes, and never go with just the recommended index that they give you. Always go and verify it and make sure there's not something that it's a duplicate of or there's something close to it, but figure out what indexes are missing. And this is one of those real world example we ran across with this. I was working with a client. Their system was grinding to a halt regularly, typically on some of their busiest days of the week. And after working with them, we went in and we found some indexes that helped with that. And we were able to apply those right on the spot, get them fixed, get them in place. And it was faster to add the index than it was for each query that was being run without that index. So we were able to make significant impact with that. So if you're working on queries, you need to understand what indexes are being used, what indexes may be needed, and what you can do to improve the indexing to help with your specific queries. Now, you want to look at the query patterns and index columns that are typically in the where or in the join or in the order by clauses. Those are things that are oftentimes used, and we can get big performance boost by indexing them properly. Use composite indexes for multi-column filters, meaning in your where clause, if you're saying where column A equals something and column B equals something else, well, put both column A and column B into that index and see, and oftentimes I'll experiment with if we add column A to the index and column B, or we add column B first and then column A, or one versus the other and see how they perform. But don't take this as a license to over-index. Over-indexing can be, well, usually as bad as not having indexes, but I would rather have a few too many indexes than not having enough. But over-indexing, what it does is it makes it so every time you change or insert data, insert, update, delete, things like that, that it takes a little bit longer because there are more copies of that data around in those indexes that need to be updated. And so it's a balance. One of the things that I recommend is taking a look at Database Health Monitor and the Database Health Monitor Performance Monitor to track those missing indexes. There are so many indexing reports that we have inside of Database Health Monitor to be able to show you what's missing, what's available. I think next week we're talking about new features in Database Health Monitor, and one of them is our cardinality report that will help you better understand what's going on with some of those indexes. But the quick tip is take a look at the execution plan, and it will oftentimes be screaming at you about missing indexes when it really needs an index.
Thanks for watching. I'm Steve, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you like it, please click the thumbs up icon. And if you want to subscribe, click subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to get notified when we have new videos. All right, have a great day.